Thank you very, very much. So hopefully if slides stop moving or anything, please do let me know. Thank you so much for such a warm welcome, dear Toastmasters and project managers. I'd love to welcome you to Eudaimonia's introductory well-being workshop. It's really an introductory journey just to give you a glimpse of what Eudaimonia is, but also dispel happiness. So I hope I do this justice. And my warm thanks to Carol Ann, who found me, Hema for guiding me through the journey, but also Joanne for hosting me today. Thank you ever so much for having me tonight. So just to kind of cover the outline so that you know while you're here, and if you're not in the right place, now's the time to escape. So we will cover the pillars of eudaimonic wellness, but also eudaimonic success. We will create some time for self-reflection and identify some of our behaviors and some of our thoughts around well-being through some practical questions. And we will start creating an action plan. We won't have time to do that, but let's see what the elements are of creating a life around eudaimonic well-being moving forward. Before we start, I would like to introduce a couple of house rules. And this is important because I know you're busy, and I know you've probably had a very, very busy start to the week and with a lot of things in your head, but this might be the only 1 hour that we have together ever. And I really want to make it worth your while. So I would love you to shut off mobile phones so that we can be here fully present together. If you have any questions, please do share them in the chat, and I'm sure one of our hosts will help us pick them up towards the end. I will answer them at the end, if that's okay, so that we can cover the majority of the topics, and hopefully you'll have a holistic view and then formulate your questions. But share them in the meanwhile. The ladies will pick it up. And participate by typing or in the poll, as some of you have already heard. So if you are active today, it means that more of these things will resonate and they will sink in. And I will also feel, although I'm miles away, feel that I'm actually in the same room with you. So are you okay to be here with me with these mini house rules? Yeah? Give me thumbs up. I can see some of you or most of you. Excellent. Thank you so, so much for starting to participate already. That's brilliant. So I'll do the typical, a little bit about Eudaimonia and my company and what I do, so that you've got an idea how on earth I landed here and I'm speaking to you today. So a little bit about my why. My why is to democratize human flourishing and to help people access the eudaimonic state of mind. And I'll tell you why I think this is important. Hopefully it will come through. What I do is coaching, but in other words, I empower time-starved yet ambitious professionals to realize their full potential, from finding their purpose, which is the starting cornerstone, all the way to architecting a fulfilling career. How I do it? Coaching programs, but also corporate workshops and training and speaking gigs like this one. I help my attendees unfold purpose, eudaimonic well-being, or authentic leadership step by step, but I also help them consistently remove any obstacles that they may have from experiencing immense joy, success, and impact through their work. And why it works? Well, it took me 10 good years to trial and error, and there were willing people to do that with me at a time when I was still learning how to coach. And help me really prove what works and what doesn't work. And I'm very grateful to all these people who have been part of my journey. And as a result, I managed to help hundreds of clients to find purpose and fulfillment in their career. Also, I had thousands of people support me and send me so many messages, and through TEDx, reach so many more people who wanted to learn about eudaimonia and what it means for them in the modern world. I mean, eudaimonia is an ancient Greek philosophy concept, but actually it's so relevant to today. And this is my mission. I want to land it for people, and I want to share it because it's got so much wisdom in it from millennia. So let's see if I can do that within an hour, if you're willing. So I'm really excited to start that with you today. So part one, we'll talk a little bit about some wellness models and some happiness archetypes. And if you can start preparing the call, that would be amazing. So I'm curious really about how you perceive happiness. And what I mean by that is I want to know which one of these 4 happiness archetypes you resonate with. And I'll explain them a little bit more while you're seeing the visual. I'm not going to give you the full explanation, but let's start at the bottom right, hedonism. Most of you will know what it means, but it's really about immediate and instant gratification. It's about acting impulsively and engaging in behaviors that look at immediate pleasure rather than, long-term benefit. And let's now go into the rat racer, which, some of us may be quite good at. Completely ignoring immediate pleasure. It's the opposite of hedonism, right? And really focusing on being disciplined towards the future payoff. So really prioritizing your long-term goals over immediate pleasure. And now the nihilist, which really is misery guts, in my terminology. The research doesn't say that. But nihilists believe that happiness is really not attainable now or in the future. They've completely given up on that. And what they do is they tend to really show hopelessness, despair. They don't engage with things. They don't seem to have a sense of motivation and purpose. And of course, on the opposite end, and this is what we're aiming for really, is eudaimonia. Being a eudaimon means you can balance immediate pleasure with long-term goals, have a sense of purpose and meaning in life, but also be able to be optimistic about the future. So if we can pull up the poll, which one do you resonate with? And if you do have any questions, please do unmute, let me know which one you would like some more explanation about. But let's start voting and see where is the room. This is anonymous, so you won't be able to, we won't be able to see who voted what, but we just want a little bit of the result. Can you see the poll? Can you all see the poll? Can you vote? Yeah. So which one do you resonate with today? And I just want to say here, there's no right or wrong answer. It's really about how you feel today, right now, because yesterday I could have been a eudaimon and today I might be a rat racer. Just to get a sense.
Okay, we have 12 out of the 13. So 92% participation. So I'll go ahead and close the poll.
Close the poll, that would be amazing. Let's see where the room is today.
All right, I'm going to share results.
Ooh. Okay, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So we have some eudaimons, 60% almost are eudaimons. We have some rat racers and also some hedonists, no nihilists. That's interesting. Thank you so much. That's really beautiful. And I don't know if it's being recorded as well, but it would be really nice to see some other, rooms as well where they are. So we've got a lot of eudaimons already, which is excellent news, which means that if I can change the slide, what you are managing to do is the optimal well-being, really being able to marry hedonic, which is pleasure, with eudaimonic, which is the discipline, the payoff, the cost, right? And we need a balance. Everybody talks about that balance. And let me ask you, in a world where overwork really means to be worthy, in most workplaces, do you agree with me that this is a tough balance to strike, even though we have most of us are eudaimons in here? Is it tough? Yeah, I see some nods. But that's the thing, because what really we're trying to do, and the reason why I chose this and I want to show this to you, is we're really trying to balance all these 8 dimensions of wellness. This is what you're managing to do. You are eudaimons and you're managing spiritual, emotional, occupational, professional, right? Intellectual or mental, environmental, financial, social, and physical dimensions of wellness, and trying to spin all these balls and, juggle them at the same time. It's tough. And we need to recognize that. If anything, who can relate? I mean, on a daily basis, trying to do that if you have children, if you have, spouses and teams to manage and colleagues, and let's not even go into who you need to keep informed and, who's accountable, responsible, and all of that. Chaos. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. And this is exactly the paradigm I had to shift looking back in my life. And my life, interestingly, gave me exactly this opportunity because, let's be honest, I didn't have it together. At least 10 years ago, I didn't have it together at all. So life gave me a very dramatic existential meltdown. And after a decade working in consulting as a business analyst and Prince 2 practitioner, project manager, working in some of the biggest transport projects in anticipation of the London 2012 Olympics, and that shows my age, I found myself pretty burnt out and miserable. And as a young consultant, traveling to all client sites, I was living out of a suitcase and I only had my weekends really to wash my clothes and go again. I was thinking, how on earth am I going to have a child? How on earth am I going to take care of this little creature if I ever had one? I was newly married back then. And really realizing that I'm not fully present for my marriage, for my friends, for my family, and most importantly, myself. I was stuck, I was lost, and lacking direction in my career, that's for sure. I don't know if anyone has been there or, has, been at times really considering, oh my God, is this what it is, right? Because when we focus on one element, sometimes we really feel the hit on other elements of the dimension of wellness, right? Can I get some thumbs up if you've ever been there? You don't have to if you haven't, but I can see a few thumbs up come up. Thank you for being honest. I really appreciate it. So that's exactly where life took me. So after a long hesitation, I did quit my career, and I don't recommend this in general, but I needed to rethink about it. And I'm only sharing my story here. So I decided to re-architect my career without really having a plan B. I mean, I was just a consultant. I didn't know all of these things that I'm going to share with you today. So I had to learn. And boy, it took me a good 18 months being out of work, trying to figure this thing out called purpose. And there weren't many resources. There were some books. Yes, I've been with life coaches and therapists and, career coaches, but really it was tough because, first of all, I was pretty young back then, I'd say, and immature. I didn't know how to deal with this problem that I had, which was an existential meltdown. And I had a lot of pride, I'm being honest here, a lot of shame about what was happening to me, and a lot of ego. And it doesn't have to be this way, I discovered, of course, 10 years later. I now know this. And, this is my mission. I want to share all of this so that people don't have to go through what I went through. 18 months is a big cost to the system, to my system, and my savings were not very good back then either. So it doesn't have to be this way for anyone. We don't have to suffer alone in this situation. And meaning is important in our life. So eventually, the good news is that I found my purpose. You'll be pleased to know. And you can hear my story, my TEDx story, as Joanne mentioned. And I founded my company, which is Eudaimonia. But since then, I had the honor to serve many, many clients on an identical journey to me, but also impact bigger audiences and having, a few more webinar and digital rooms like this one today. So thank you. Now, I want you to imagine a world where nobody can shortchange you from your full potential. And if you know and you live your purpose, no employer can trade your confidence for security or a salary. And you know you're good enough right now to choose the career path you want the way you want it, expressing all your well-being elements right here. So eudaimonia is a key word that really helped me figure this journey out. And eudaimonia in Greek, I guess an open translation, although we'll go into it a little bit more in detail in a moment, means fulfillment. So eudaimonia means fulfillment. And I chose this word for my company name because it really means human flourishing. And this is the world I wanted to create with eudaimonia, a world where flourishing is a birthright bestowed upon you. Let's see, will I achieve that today? So we'll go into the terms and, really comparing happiness and eudaimonia, and also show the 6 pillars of eudaimonic wellness here. And let's start. What is eudaimonia? And if we go millennia back, my culture, I'm half Greek and half Japanese. My Greek culture, they didn't really, there's not many occurrences of the word happiness. It was a wish that ancient Greeks used to give to each other, and they used to wish each other eudaimonia. They didn't care about happiness. And translations of that word are really, as I said, fulfillment, human flourishing, living the good life, living the virtuous life, but also in today's terms, and for us today, holistic well-being. And I can say that eudaimonia is not a feeling. It's not like happiness is not a feeling. It's really about the connection with the inner self. And it takes a lifetime to master, and it is worth every second of you and your journey trying to master it, because it gives us existential meaning on the path. It is a path. It's a homecoming journey to ourselves. And etymology means the word origin. Eudaimonia is made up of 2 words. The first one is eu, which is euphoria, or if you've been to London, there's a station called Euston, or eustress, we call the good stress. So eu means good, ev, demonia, we say in Greek, and demon is with AI in this case. It means spirit, self, or soul. So an open translation to the word eudaimonia is being in good terms with our demons, which is an interesting word if you think about it. So if you want, you can check out Aristotle, or Immanuel Kant has spoken about it, the German philosopher as well, but I'm not going to do that today. It's not a philosophy talk today. But fulfillment in eudaimonia is a balancing act. I want you to think about it in this way, the way at least it lands in the Greek language. And it's about understanding that eudaimonia was a wish, which it's like wishing somebody good health, right? It's the most basic and common term that anyone would wish anyone in ancient Greece. And being in good terms with our demons means really being in a state of mind that embraces duality, the good and the bad that happens. And demons in ancient Greek used to be spirits, so it could be good or bad. So in terms of symbolism, think of the Taoist symbol of yin and yang, and I've shown it a little bit before. So eudaimonia, yin and yang, if you can combine all cultures across the world. And the important thing here, and I think the best way to look at eudaimonia is if we compare it with happiness. And I think that might clarify a few confusion points. So happiness, at least the translation is in Greek, but also in most of languages that I'm aware of, depends on external factors. It's something that we cannot control. Happiness, and this is my wording really, is a cage. It's a static state of expectation for perfection. And it's quite a heavy weight on the human soul. And eudaimonia, on the other hand, gives us permission to not have all our ducks in a row, to feel frustrated and angry, and still be able to be grateful for the good that we have in our lives. Eudaimonia purely depends on our perception, and this is empowering. It is a dynamic and often very uncomfortable equilibrium, which includes frustration, anger, and stress. And it gives us permission to free ourselves from the unrealistic and unsustainable static ideal of happiness. The English word happy has an interesting origin as well. Happy comes from the Norse word hap, which means fortune or luck, which was very interesting for me to find out all the etymologies. And you might know that it's very much close to the words perhaps, or I just happened to see him or to talk to him. So it has to do a lot with fortune, with luck, and essentially it means to be fortunate. So although in the English culture we say, oh, happiness, it's almost like an impossible ideal that we're wishing somebody to have, and it's a very static and fleeting state. Whereas in ancient Greece, they used to really wish others eudaimonia, which has staying power, right? It's not fleeting. It's something you work on every day, and it's measured by fulfillment and alignment. Therefore, it's not going to go away. It's something that really, if you put in the work, the inner work, you will never lose. So interesting how cultures considered and the wisdom that comes from those cultures, right? Moreover, I want to say happiness is an emotion, whereas eudaimonia is much more of a comprehensive state of being. And happiness is something that a person might create or lose at any moment, while eudaimonia takes a long effort and it's ongoing, it's timeless. So it's something that we can really invest in and not lose down the line. Happiness is not within our control. I just want to conclude. Eudaimonia is empowering instead, because no matter what happens in our environment, no matter what our job is or whatever happens, the circumstances that we find ourselves within, we can choose to live in alignment with our values and our spirit and our soul and who we are. And happiness can be externally triggered, whereas eudaimonia has esoteric value. So just want to check in here that these are clear, or if you have any questions, I want to make sure that I answer them here just in case, because this is quite important. I see some nods, or is this clear? Yeah. Good, thank you. And I found this quote and I felt that it really demonstrates the delicate balancing agony of eudaimonia best. So Muhammad Ali has said, I hated every minute of training. But I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. So this is what eudaimonia enables us to do. So what distinguishes happiness from eudaimonia is purpose and patience. And eudaimonia does not shy away from pain. It doesn't have good or bad. It accepts all of it as a whole. And it is eminently possible to be fulfilled and at the same time under pressure, suffering physically or mentally, and quite frequently in a bad mood. So eudaimonia allows that. Okay, so when you're angry, don't judge yourself, just go for it. And this is the beauty of the word and the psychological nuance that the word happiness doesn't have and cannot capture, whereas the readily accommodate, this is really readily accommodated in the eudaimonic term. So eudaimonia, I believe, deserves wider currency because it corrects the shortfalls of the most central governing and yet insufficient term, happiness. And I bored you enough, I think. So who would like a quiz? I want to see some yeses or some thumbs up so that we can make sure we land some of the knowledge that I just shared here. Cool. So I want you to participate in the chat now. And quiz question number 1. Eudaimonia comes from the Greek words meaning happy life, good morals, happy pirate, or good self. Which one is the answer? I want to see the chat moving. Yes, already. Megan spilled it. Brilliant. Excellent. I think you're ready for the second question. So, question 2. Eudaimonia is usually translated as happiness, but a better translation might be morality, pleasure, fulfillment, or truth. Yes, brilliant. Everybody got that one. Number 3. Eudaimonia is primarily associated with this philosopher, Nietzsche, Aristotle, Kant, or Confucius. Yes, could be Kant as well, but I think the first one, of course, we have to honor Aristotle, right? Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And last question, English word happiness comes from the Norse word meaning pleasure, luck, pain, or fulfillment. Yes. What a star crew I have. Beautiful. Thank you for paying attention and for participating. Good. So really just to cover most aspects so that you are aware and you come from a place of knowledge. Eudaimonic well-being is not just an ancient Greek philosophical term, which I really indulged in explaining a moment ago, but it's actually a proven psychology model by Dr. Carol Riff. So if you want to read about it and find out more about it, but it has been substantiated by the 6 building blocks I'm going to present to you in a moment. I will not bore you with that so much, but I just want you to be aware of it so that we can start doing the exercises of self-reflection in a moment. So as we said, eudaimonia is a state of dynamic balance, and we can all train our minds to be in Zen despite the chaos. And it's the ability to be able to step into harmony with our demons, which is the most ancient probably wish there is. The good and the bad at any one time, because we can't choose what's happening, but we can choose how to respond to it, as Viktor Frankl has said. So it's accepting the uncomfortable feeling of our growth and really, I could also relate it to the concept of wabi-sabi. For those of you who are aware, it's a Japanese Zen concept of the imperfect. So Carol Riff has used a lot of different research as well, which is the surrounding. I don't know if you can see my cursor. A lot of people have really researched about well-being in many, many ways. And she has culminated all of that research in 6 pillars of eudaimonic well-being, as she calls it. And of course, the cornerstone is purpose in life, having a strong sense of purpose in life, environmental mastery, which is being able to respond to the difficulties with the tools that we have at our disposal, being able to build positive and meaningful relationships with others, being able to be committed to our personal growth, having autonomy, which is being able to be independent and make the right decisions for ourselves and our spirit, and self-acceptance, being able to unconditionally love ourselves through all its shades. And in my coaching work with leaders, we develop these skills. I call them skills, one by one, as they come up in order to navigate life's challenges. But until, they become integrated behaviors, we need to work on them. So it's not something that we are given, we can develop it. And once we develop this toolkit and these skills, we can bring this every day in our lives, in all aspects of our lives. Of course, we're not going to do that here because it's just the introductory seminar today. But I want you to be aware of them so that you know the background of what a coach would do with you, or a therapist or a psychologist if you're working with them on the eudaimonic well-being aspects, on your well-being. But as we said, and as Hema commented earlier in the event, you know that your personal well-being is synonymous to your professional well-being. And professional well-being is just one dimension of our well-being, right? And obviously, I've been one of those people who have focused on career a while ago and ignored all other aspects of my well-being, and I know the cost of that. So the crucial question arises, and I know you're already thinking it, okay, how on earth do I express eudaimonic well-being at work? And it is a very, very good question. And this is exactly what we're going to start doing here in part C of the webinar. So reconciling traditional societal pressures and inner balance is tough. And you already agree with me around that. And I could sit here and tell you to meditate, to sleep, to exercise, to eat well in order to release stress. But thankfully, you'll be pleased to know I'm not going to do that, because that's not the point. This is, of course, essential, but this is not what I'm here to share with you. But I will ask you to, think about, okay, well, in terms of their professional well-being and the way we express ourselves in life as a whole, how do we really know that, okay, well-being is being expressed? How do we know that we are unique in what we do? And how do we communicate that effectively everywhere in our life? Tough, right? How do we do that? And of course, because we are project managers, because we are, willing and committed to succeed in all aspects of our life, and our career is included in that, I will just say that eudaimonia is about alignment across all aspects. It's about congruence with our values. And, of course, coaches help us develop these things, through self-reflection. I am not preaching equal balance of all dimensions at all times because, as I said, this is unrealistic, if not dangerous and stressful for us. Perfect work-life balance in at least the eudaimonic world does not exist. And that's not to dismiss it, but it's really about understanding that sometimes one aspect might need more focus than another. And so we have to be prepared to dance with our demons. And it's about expressing authentically everywhere. So for 10 years, I have been interested in helping leaders express themselves through what I call the Eudaimonic Leadership brand, which is a framework I've created for them in order to be able to do that. And we'll just scratch the surface here today. But most importantly, I wanted to share what I shared in my TEDx, which is the model that I have noticed all you demons go through realizing their own holistic well-being. Because when they come to me stressed, or if they're not quite sure why, their career is taking this path and not another path, are they really made to be engineers, or are they really made to be doctors, or are they really made to be in pharmacy? People come with these existential questions to me. So how do we navigate through that? How do we help them through that? And I think the most important myth to dispel is how we see success, because success is not just at work, it's throughout all dimensions of well-being. So I would like you now to focus a little bit on the right column, and I'll explain all of this complicated diagram here. So let's look at the right column, which if you look into any dictionary and you look for success, pretty much they will say success is money, fame, and status. And why do they say that? These are the most tangible, measurable way of expressing success, right? It's quantifiable, it's measurable. I'm not going to go into that because you all know what it means. But now let's look at the left-hand side, which is the eudaimonic version of success. And all my clients in the last 10 years, as I said, I've been coaching them one by one, have helped me see that these are the inner cornerstones of success. And I'll line them up and I'll explain them one by one, but they are value, belonging, and respect. So when people come to me and say, I really want to make an impact, I really want to have meaning in my life, but also express that through work, they really are talking about being able to create value and impact, being able to belong, and being able to be respected and recognized for their work. So value is how we add value to others, the impact we choose to create. It's the way we measure, how many people perhaps benefited from us and from our work or our contribution. It can be mothers, we can be fathers, we can be, colleagues, church, goers. But also you can think about it as the degree of improvement in someone's life through our presence, through our being, state of being. How positively we inspire people, how we help people when, the chips are down, all of that. And I want to connect it to the traditional model, because what happens there is the bigger the value and the impact we add, and it doesn't have to be monetary, by the way, but it can be, the bigger the reward, there is a positive impact, a transference and exchange of energy. And we can link it back to the more valuable we are, the more reward there is. And of course, this can be translated into bank accounts and, salaries and so on. Now let's move from belonging though to belonging. And this feeling, this is the feeling of knowing we are at home. And how do we achieve that? By knowing who we are and authentically expressing that. And it can happen in the community we serve, but also we can really look at that as who we are in terms of identity in relation to others. And the more we know and accept of ourselves and express that, the more others will gravitate towards us to recognize our role and seek our wisdom. And the respect aspect is, let's say, moving from fame to kind of demanding that respect is about honoring our values and leading by example. And when we do that with integrity, we will get, sought for our wisdom, and we will be entrusted with making important decisions for those people around us. So that really gives us the authority. And the reason why I'm juxtaposing those two models together is because the eudaimonic model for success matches the traditional model in 3 dimensions. And those dimensions and flows, as you can see the arrows going, is the wealth element, the recognition, and the influence. Right? Value to money is wealth, and belonging to fame is recognition, and respect to status is influence. And you can see the left-hand side, the eudaimonic side, as the cause, and the right-hand side as the effect. And success, I'll be honest with you, has really, really, troubled me for a long time, because I was always thinking, oh, well, how, why is it a problem? Why don't I understand? Why do I feel so empty when, I read everywhere, okay, Elon Musk has so many billions, and, he's so famous, he has so many followers, and so on. Like, I could never really correlate with that as a project manager in Transport for London or in the consulting company I was like, how on earth can I relate to these people? And we have to be realistic. The right-hand side is the result of the investment we make on the left-hand side. The left-hand side is what we put in. The eudaimonic model is what we decide to be, who we want to be in this world, and how we want to create impact. And the right-hand side is just a culmination of that result, right, of that investment. And if you think about it, the traditional success model is, okay, the only way in which we can objectively measure, okay, money, fame, status, it's comparable across generations, cultures, industries, yeah? Whereas the eudaimonic input we put in as human beings, the decisions we make of who to become, what state of being we want to be in, are so subjective, it's impossible to compare. Right? So I want you to see both as a continuum. They're just different sides of the same coin. I just want to stop here to invite any questions or any clarifications, just to make sure that we're all on the same page before we go into. Okay, so now the real deal. We, of course, will start just scratching the surface, but I would love you to join me in shifting the paradigm of traditional success and becoming a fulfilled leader. And really, it was hard to choose how to tackle this in such short space of time. But I guess what I want to encourage you and invite you to do is to meet yourself in depth, because if you do that today, and if you do that consistently through the rest of your life and your career, and you start expressing, if not already, authentically, what will happen is you will be able to create a safe space for others within and under your leadership to do the same. So if you are a eudaimon, then others will be as a result, because as leaders, we create culture, we create the space for others to thrive. And if we are eudaimons, then others will experience that energy and that zen within chaos, no matter what is happening. So in the chat, I want you to answer as best as possible and share your thoughts and answer these questions. So don't overthink it. Let's start with the first one. What is an area in which undoubtedly you're adding value, you're making an impact in life or at work? It doesn't have to make sense right now. Please do share with us where you add value, which is an area you're definitely adding value or making an impact in life or at work. You can focus in whichever aspect you want. We're not judging here. Start formulating your thoughts. What would you say is the first thought that comes up? Caroline says, digital transformation in the lives of people, organizations, and marginalized communities. Absolutely. That came quickly as well. Uncensored. Brilliant. Yes. Anyone else? Doesn't have to be perfectly formulated, although this is pretty good. Joanne says, I can provide calm and pragmatism when situations are stressful. Whoa, what an intimate, and very deep reflection. Yeah. And I'm sure instinctively people around you already know that. What else? What else is coming up? Anybody else? I'm not going to move on until I have a couple more answers. Hopefully we have the time as well. I can provide different points of views on situations, says Jason. Thank you. Jennifer says, provide a safe space for others to unload their burdens. Wow. Very important. Very important. So there you go. You're already formulating your eudaimonic success model. Beautiful. Megan says, I'm a good listener for my loved ones when needed. So important to know we can run to you, right? So now think of that and how you can amplify that. Arlie says, bring organization to chaos. So all of you have touched on aspects of you that you can start seeing why people come to you, right? So the next question is very much linked to what you just shared in the chat. So I want you to think, where do you feel recognized? Where do you belong? And it doesn't have to be work related or the same train of thought, but I just want you to follow it without censoring it. Where do you feel recognized? Where do you belong? Where do you feel at home? Where does that happen? Arlie says, PMUT. Absolutely. You make me feel at home. Where do you feel at home? And I know sometimes work can be a difficult place where it asks you to, stand up. Jennifer says, work. Brilliant. Safe environment. What a gift. Joanne says, I'm lucky because I belong at home. Hey. Brilliant. And home can have many meanings, right? So Megan, amongst my family, friends, and my PMUT family, and that's testament to, the beautiful group and the belonging you have created here. So thank you for inviting me to talk about belonging here. Caroline says, supporting PMUT, rural communities, newcomers, immigrants, and refugees, as well as entrepreneurs, people that want to become more than they are. So developing potential right there, academia, business analysis, and ed tech. Thank you. So many, many communities in which you belong, Caroline, but also you want to make an impact in, right? Many people are already liking it. And thank you for finding me as well. So yeah, I'm just scratching the surface here. And the last question on this slide is, where do your decisions matter most to you, though? Not to others. Don't think about what others are doing right now and where they might say. Think about you. Yeah, Joanne says Caroline is amazing at connecting folks. I can definitely testify that. So where do your decisions matter most to you? Where do you hope, wish, and know your decisions will matter or already matter? It's about what you think is worthwhile, not what everybody else thinks at this point in time. It's the esoteric. Carrie says family, home. Jennifer, family, my business. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And it's probably wider than this, but it's the instinctive first answer. Okay. And, if we were working together, we would be, going a little bit deeper about, okay, what types of decisions. And, Hema says home and family. Jason says loved ones. Megan, home and work. So this is brilliant. This is brilliant. And this is really showing the inner work. We need to set the ground for the success, how we define success to bubble up for us. Caroline says the lives of family, farmers, and access to technology, opportunity, education. Stop the rural brain drain. Absolutely. And I've just recently been to the Austrian rural areas and, very much, a solitary life. there for the farmers, not very supported, not much access to technology, you know, and opportunities like in the cities where, you know, cross-pollination is happening much faster. So huge responsibility for us, you know, in city centers to make that happen. So beautiful, beautiful conversations. But let's start with some of the most, you know, important topics, which is at home. Because if we don't figure out who we are at home, how can we figure out who we might be at work? Right? And some of us have done differing degrees of self-reflection on that because you didn't know this model until now. So there we go. Thank you so much for contributing. We've got some really, really good connecting dots here. So the next, I can move the slide, that is, I would love you to think about is voicing your true longing. And I'm using the word true longing because true longing keeps us alive. And that comes from a purpose coach. So there is a desire in each and every one of our souls. Our demon knows that desire, so it starts whispering to us. And, you know, eudaimonic success is literally aligned with our purpose, and success at every level in our life will not be ever misaligned if we are congruent. Okay, so the beauty about eudaimonic success is that it will always be aligned to our purpose and what we do in whichever field we choose. It doesn't matter whether we are in one industry over another, because once this is solid and we are clear, it doesn't matter what industry we're in. Okay, so remember, success and purpose always intimately aligned. There's no misalignment there if we do our job right. And when we are torn and when there is conflict and, you know, non-congruence, then we know something's not working out. We need to come back to the source, which is the eudaimonic definition of success. And then the results will flow. So it will be a tough, probably, you know, raw first attempt, but please share and finish the sentence. For you, my eudaimonic definition of success, based on a little bit of the scratching of the surface we've just done, is: what do you truly long in your life right now or at work? How you understand it?
Christina, just a heads up, we're at the 10-minute mark.
We will be finishing very soon. Thank you so, so much, Joanne. So Carol Ann says, for me, democratization of education, knowledge preservation, and accessibility. Wow. Okay, quite a mature statement already here. And imagine when you get to version 10, right? When you start really bringing all the elements and the pillars of eudaimonic success there. Carrie says, respect, simple word, stems, you know, everything else stems from that. Beautiful. What else is bubbling up for everyone? Version 1, I don't care how perfect it is. Joanne says, being there for the family, see and be seen. Wow, what a poetic phrase just came up. Huh? Being able to see and be seen. I mean, being truly in your element right there. I don't think you need to say anything more. What else is bubbling up for people? What's your emerging eudaimonic definition of your success? Great relationships, which is necessarily an element of the eudaimonic 6 pillars from Carol Riff, right? Positive, meaningful relationships. What else matters to you? Come on. Self-care. Without self-care, you can't provide self-care for others, right? There's no space for others. Jennifer, advancement in career and business, very important element. And guess what? If you do that, then others will have permission and empowerment from you to do so too. Curtis says health and contentment. Beautiful, beautiful. Without health, we don't have anything. Carol, being a messenger of hope. What a role you're assuming. And the way you choose to do it is through democratization of education, as you said, and accessibility and all of that, right? But first and foremost, the cornerstone of everything, the middle, is I desire to be a messenger of hope. I'm just using these examples, and that's the whole point of this, for you to realize how this work starts, you know, spilling over in different aspects of your life authentically. And of course, we don't have a chance to do the full framework here, but just wanted to give you a glimpse. I really, really, really appreciate your contributions here. They're beautiful. So quick and dirty, but have to do it. I want you now to think of how to focus on two differing speeds, right? The most short term, which is the daily and weekly aspect, but also a little bit of the more long-term, medium to long-term aspect of creating that eudaimonic success for yourself. So daily, weekly, what activity, what do you need to be doing in order to start becoming more of a eudaimon? What you truly want to succeed in, because that's your purpose, that's your calling, that's what's starting to unfold for you. So give me on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, what do you need to do more of so that you can support yourself in really expressing the eudaimonic state of being in your life? Jennifer says self-reflection. And I want you to think how much time perhaps, and how will you do it? Will you be walking? Will you be just meditating? What would you like to be doing? Because we can really jump into, okay, we need to meditate more, but now you know why you need to do that, right? So give me on a daily to weekly basis, what do you need to be doing to support yourself in really being a eudaimon, really, truly, authentically expressing eudaimonia in your life? What needs to happen? Give me a couple of ideas for you. So Jennifer, self-reflection, is it 5 minutes? Do you meditate? Do you walk? Do you journal? How will you do self-reflection? Have a think. She says, take a few minutes a day to just sit and breathe. Solid. Anybody else? Carol Ann says, structuring my time, prioritizing activities, using my product backlog, Legend Pro Planner. Tools are coming in. Helpful. And setting objectives. Brilliant. Setting objectives then on a daily to weekly basis, and also making sure you're structuring your time and prioritizing your activities, right? Beautiful. So here are some of the tools in which you're going to help yourself to do that. And I want us to shift gears now and say, okay, in the medium to long term, on a monthly, perhaps quarterly basis, how will you support yourself to be a eudaimon? Megan says, working on not procrastinating. And how would you do that? How will you structure that in your monthly to quarterly life so that you don't forget it? I mean, it's good to have the intention, and we can all express intention, but how will you actually focus on it? I'm being a coach right now, forgive me. But as we have the example here, and we can all learn from it. So Jason says, be authentic and true to myself. Brilliant. So how will you do that more? How will you create that in your life in the month, on a monthly and quarterly basis? How will you know you've done that? Megan says that was actually daily, weekly. Sorry. It just came when I asked the other question, so I thought you typed that quickly. Thank you, Megan, for clarifying. Kerry says set goals and targets. Brilliant. And then how will you know you're achieving them? Jason says reflection. So how many minutes perhaps, or will you set that in your calendar, Jason? Caroline says more mind mapping and in-depth conversations with luminaries, improve focus and level of quality of questioning. Brilliant. So what an intention to have. And perhaps, in your calendar, you can be adjusting and making time for meeting with new people that you don't know, search them up and actually have a conversation and say, right, what can I give? What can I learn? Arlie says, I organize my calendar by focusing on my tasks and goals. So I want you to have some eudaimonic tasks and goals in there. Jason says, journal. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, that's brilliant, because actually it's so beautiful to slow down our mind and make that time for ourselves to be more eudaimonic in our lives. Good. This is just scratching the surface, but I think time is up. So I would like us to finish off by doing an Insta share, which means I would love you to share with me on the chat, what would you like to keep from the session today? Just very briefly, perhaps a sentence or a quick phrase to anchor what you learned today or what stayed with you today. And of course, ask me any questions you may have. And whoever wants to reach out to me on LinkedIn, I will be more than happy to share my TEDx link and a free PDF handout to delve a little bit deeper on the eudaimonic success model and action plan. What would you say you learned from the session today? What will stay with you? Share with us on the chat. Or if you have a question. Curtis says motivation. How do you mean that, Curtis? Generally. Excellent. Jennifer says happiness is temporary and eudaimonia is forever. Nobody can take it away from you. Definitely. Joanne says that it's more about the longer term journey than instant gratification. We need both, by the way, yeah. And it's really important to honor both. We can't just be rat racers. But eudaimonia is about being able to balance it, and it's the toughest job on the planet. Let's be honest. Carol Ann says learning how I matter in the bigger picture. The value of reflection and where it can lead. Opportunities really do connect and understanding yourself and beginning to understand how to do that. Yes, totally. We're weaving meaning every day. And without self-reflection, we won't be able to be eudaimons, for sure. Kerry says you can change your life if you want. Absolutely. You are totally empowered to change it. And we just need a couple of frameworks, don't we? We all do. And this is what I'm offering here. Jason says, embrace all feelings, good and bad. Spot on. It's a yin and yang. It's Tao. We can't choose what comes our way, but boy, we can choose how we respond to it and how, we dance with our demons, as I say. It's not about having it all figured out. It's about being able to be angry and grateful at the same time. I quit my job because I couldn't take it anymore because I had an absolute meltdown. But am I grateful towards it? Was I angry back then? Were my parents worried? Did I eat up all my savings? Could I be further if I knew it all before? Sure. Does that make me any lesser? No. So absolutely. And Jason says, yeah, no, I just read that. Thank you. Any questions? And I know we're spilling over time, so can probably take a couple of questions max, right? If there are any. Any questions? You can unmute if that's easier. If there are none, back to you, Joanne.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Christina. A round of applause, please, everybody. That was fantastic.